Good evening and welcome to Phipps Talk. As usual, we always have some exciting guests with lots of good things to share, either about themselves or beneficial to you from community. So this evening is no different. We have a very unique individual who's given a lot to Boston residents by way of many organizations. I'm going to let him share some of those organizations that he represents with you this evening. I'm going to have him tell you a little bit about himself so you'll get to know him because, you know, I know him well, or I think I do, but I'd like to get you to know him as well as I do. And without any further ado, one of Boston's finest in terms of community service, community outreach, and some of his actual work in community, I'll let him share with you as well. Without any further ado, Mr. DePisa. Fabian DePisa, welcome to the program.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for having me on, Mr. Phipps. And I just want to say good evening to the audience out there and thank Richard for bringing me on. This was somewhat of a surprise, but I just found out that, you know, I've known Richard now for the better part of 2.5 years. I've known about him a lot longer than that, but I finally got to know him on a more personal level over the last 2.5 years, and it's been interesting. In my profession, I work for the Mass Commission for the Blind, and Richard is someone who's a client of the commission, but in getting to find out more about Richard and his passion for real estate and development and things like that, I realized we share a lot in common in terms of our vision for wanting to see things in our community move to another level. So I've reached out to Richard to become part of an organization that I'm a part of, I'm very fond of. It's the Hyde Park Lions Club, the International Lions. And I'm hoping to get him on board as a member one day, and I'm thinking that's going to happen pretty soon. But Richard knows me in a couple of capacities. One from being involved with the St. Cyprian's Episcopal Church here in the South End, as well as someone from the Caribbean who's involved in the annual Caribbean American Carnival, which is run by Mrs. Shirley Shillingford as the president and the board of the committee. So having said that, you know, we form a natural bond. Knowing Richard, he's from Barbados. I consider myself to be an African Caribbean American because born in Trinidad of Barbadian parents, both mother and father. And I always tell people I'm a proud product of the Boston public school system. So with all that in mind, I care a lot about the community of Boston. And want to see things move to the next level for the next generation. So I share that passion in the social activities I get engaged in, as well as in the professional work that I do.
Okay, now you just talked about the organizations that you work with. Let us know a little bit about you. You're from Trinidad, that piece we got. How long have you been in the Boston area? What have you done in your early years to get to where you are? You know, I know that you're academic, a scholar of some substance. Mm-hmm. So you know, they're share a little bit more. I mean, we have a wonderful audience. If you did anything that we should know about, you know, we have a forgiving audience, but we don't want you to tell us about it.
I understand.
Yep.
Well, I've been in Boston now for well over 43 years. I came here at the age of 12, and I've gone on to college in Boston, Suffolk University, went on and got my master's at Suffolk University.
Awesome.
And it's been great. It's been great watching Boston go through the different changes. When I moved to Boston, I grew up in Jamaica Plain. Yeah. And I've watched the transformation of Jamaica Plain and the gentrification, as people would call it, and just watching it come full circle again to what it used to be when I first moved in. It was predominantly, you know, white, And it changed over to being more diverse, with more of a Latin population. And now it's in the middle somewhere, and I think it's a very diverse place, JP. I moved out to Hyde Park, and I love Hyde Park. I love being in the city. I don't see myself moving to any suburban communities or anything like that. I like being in the city. So,
You know, the mayors, both mayors have declared that Boston is a walk-in city. If you get out to the suburb, it's a long walk back. So you probably know.
yes, and it is. It is. I work in downtown Boston, and there are times when I just will leave the office for 20, 30 minutes and walk out to the Newberry Street area and walk back to the office.
Yeah.
And you can walk down to the Charles River, and anyway, it is a walk-in city, and if you up to it, you can walk out from downtown all the way out to Roxbury and beyond, and in a matter of 40 minutes or so, an hour walk. So it's a good city, and I like the way Boston's developing. I had a chance this summer to go down the waterfront, and I was amazed by the development that has happened down in the waterfront area.
Yeah.
It's a sight to behold. But I just hope that it's inclusive, and I think it will be for everyone to participate in the activities that go on down there, as well as out in the neighborhoods.
Well, you know, our mayor, when he first took office, said by 2020, I think that, I'm speaking under correction, so if you know, I'm always open to being corrected if I get it wrong. But I believe I heard the mayor said if you didn't make $150,000 by 2020, it might be difficult to survive in Boston. So you know, it should be able to accommodate everybody if we're all making a reasonable amount of money, because the district, Seaport District, waterfront, is a very attractive place to be. It can be very costly, but you know, we expect everybody to be able to enjoy it. Now, I want to step back a little bit, because I think you know, you mentioned your academics, Suffolk University, and there's a big concern nowadays about ability to afford college as it moves forward, and children completing high school and so forth. And I know that, well, let's have you speak to that for a minute. What do you see or do you see school as still a very important part of our growth and development? Do you see options for kids to continue going to college and so forth, so that they have the same opportunities or greater opportunities than we did as youngsters growing up?
Well, there definitely needs to be a push to make higher education more affordable.
Okay.
You know, under the previous administration in Washington, I think President Obama had a lot of good programs and initiatives to make junior colleges, community colleges free. We've had some pushback against that, but I hope that's something these, you know, current leaders will consider, because you need an education to get ahead in life. I'm not saying it's the end all be all, but in order for you to be an informed citizen and to achieve the kind of success you want to achieve in society, you do need that education. It's not necessarily saying you got to grab a BA, a bachelor's degree, or a master's degree, or what have you, but you do need formal education to get ahead. And the affordability of it is a big part. How do we go about making college accessible for everyone? That's the issue that we really have to look at and address in a structured way. I have an interesting story to share with you. I have a 12-year-old, and this year, for the first time, we enrolled her in one of the Boston public schools. And I honestly believe that the school itself is doing a fantastic job, but they have to deal with so many outside issues with the student body that they're dealing with, and the lack of, you know, formidable involvement from the parents. That's where you find that the education is not, teaching in the public schools is not just about education. It's about so many other things. And something needs to happen.
I'm glad to hear you raise the issue of parental involvement. I know we didn't plan to go in this direction, But the fact that you raised it, you know, I've had a number of teachers in the school system, a number of acquaintances who are teachers in the school system, and that's one of the common things I hear. They all have a passion for teaching. They all love working for the school department, but they become discouraged or disenchanted with the way that the parental involvement unfolds because it's little or none. And when parents do get involved, it's more to be abusive of the teachers for the work that they think they're not doing because their particular child is having a hard time or discipline problems. And they blame the teachers for all of it, when the teachers are only a small part of the process in terms of influence on the child. So, and when I say a small part, most of the time they're supposed to be teaching, not teaching discipline and all the other things the parent wants them to do or relegate them to doing by sort of moving away from their own responsibilities. And we have lots of parents now. Lots of parents are doing a good job, but I know that that is a big issue in terms of the school department. With the education system, parental involvement. So I'm glad you raised that. We want to encourage you, if you're a parent in the school department, please, 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 the teachers need your support in so many ways and participation in the child's education. So if you're one of our audience, please give that some special consideration because the teachers are doing a great job for the most part. There are many challenges, but they do need your assistance, and that's an appeal from our team here at BNN out to you to participate in the process.
Yeah, there's a lot of good programs going on within the school system, and one of the things I always have an issue with is when people talk about, the charter schools against the public schools.
Yeah.
I think we need to be about education. And not about creating this divide where people are competing to get into charter schools, I suppose. And it's about resources at the end of the day, but the resources need to be spent on where you're getting the most bang for your buck, for lack of a better term. And it has to be about the end result, how good of a job you're doing in educating the kids that you're serving, because they are our future leaders. And, my biggest fear, going back to the situation with my daughter, is when she's on the bus from the school to the after-school program. That's a piece that really concerns me, because the kids are primarily left to their own supervision. And there's a lot of situations that are going on in that hour drive or 20-minute drive from the school to the after-school program, that they need a second adult on these buses. They need monitors. And that's a situation that when I was told about, I was like, I always wondered why, school buses in general didn't have seat belts for all the kids. Because you drive by and you see a school bus going past you and there's someone running across the bus or standing up. It's like, what should happen if the driver should stop suddenly? What's going to happen? And those are little things, and they probably cost money. But I think investing in monitors and that adult support is important. Just to have the proper guidance.
Those thoughts are very valuable. We're going to take a short break so you can make sure that anybody else you think should be a part of this audience, text them, call them, make sure they're there. We're about to share some additionally interesting information with you about community and programs, and we'll be right back. 2 and 2, back at you.
What are you, superheroes?
Just 4 brothers who hate bullies and love this city. Gear up, guys.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing. And it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. At work or at play, you're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Oh, hey. She's cute. Nice going, man. Things are going great for you. You've earned a night out. Good drinks, good friends. Yeah, we can go ahead and call this a good night. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Not smart. Yeah, I saw that coming. Say goodbye to her. Ouch, that'll hurt your bank account. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. I hope you like eating frozen dinners. Alone. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Thanks for staying with us and bringing your friends along with you. We're back. We're going to have an interesting conversation now with Mr. DePisa, continuing because it was interesting for the first part. We expect all of that excitement to continue, so we're glad you're staying with us. We're going to continue to talk about Mr. DePisa's work in community and see how it grabs you, right? Let's see if it's something that you also may want to get excited about. We're talking about the activity with the Lions Club and other organizations work with, and we'll talk about the events that they're doing later on, but let's hear some of what the organizations and what they do and why they do it.
Well, as you know, Richard, from being involved with the Lions Club, they're known as the Knights of the Blind. And they do a lot of fundraising for to fight blindness, to find cures, to fight preventable blindness, as you would say. So in doing that, we get out into the community. We do a lot of service projects, and we just donate as much money as we can to Lion's Eye Research.
Okay.
We also are involved with fighting hunger. And a lot of the audience may not know, but the Lions Club is the largest service organization in the world. And whenever, in times of disaster, it's normally the Lions is on the ground first, whether it's in Puerto Rico or in Florida, the Carolinas, and they just try to take care of the community as best as they can. A lot of people may not know, but we have several chapters here in Massachusetts, and it's definitely something you should look into and try to become a part of.
Now, you said they support hunger. How does that unfold? Because, you know, one of the things that amazes me, even in this country, is we have a lot of people that go to bed hungry every night, unfortunately. And it's something that they don't make a lot of hoopla about. There's not a lot of media, not a lot of attention to it. But in the richest country in the world, or I think we are, still, there's still people you know, the Chinese are right there. There are still people that go to bed hungry every night, and it's unfortunate. And I don't think enough is said or done about that on a national scale, so it's relegated to the local communities to deal with the issues. And as something you mentioned, something the Lions is working on, you know, do you have any more details on how that plays out, how people might participate in that process to help feed or hungry?
Well, definitely one of the things you can do is to get connected with the different church groups. The Lions will form partnerships with different groups to get supplies, non-perishable items to the different pantries, whether it's at a church organization or a food pantry. Their members take part in all different sort of food drives, feeding people in the community, residents and so forth. But the help is definitely there if you need it. One of the things I would say, and you touched on something about, you know, in one of the richest countries in the world, and people going to bed hungry. It's bad when you don't know what resources are available to you. There are pantries all around the city of Boston where you can go and pick up food. You just have to fill out a form, sign up, and you can go and get, you know, good supplies of food to prepare a hot meal for your family. So the Lions get involved in those kind of service projects as well.
Right, so we're supplying, we're talking about the distribution of food to pantries, and then pantries being able to serve community.
Right, getting the food from the food bank, getting them out to the pantries, getting them out to a sick and shutting member in the community, making sure that you check in with them and you get food to them, you know, those kind of things.
I will commit tonight to you to being able to get a list of those pantries, and if there's such a thing, and placing them on our website, phippstalk.com, and just to be sure that people have access to it. And for those people that don't have access to internet or television, we'll find a way to get it out community. And if you're listening and you don't use television or, sorry, not use computers or cell phones, or use them effectively to get information, and you want to call and tell us where you would like us to place them, in a few days we'll have them ready and placed in locations where you can access them, because I understand how important that is, and most often if you can't get if you need access to it, somebody else does. So if you do, please feel free to call 617-296-7730. Our partners at CFS Realty or wealthbuilders.global will be happy to take your name and be sure that we are able to get you the information either by mail or put it in locations where you have access to, because we certainly don't want anybody going to bed hungry, especially if we can avoid it. Now, we talked about working with the programs to prevent hunger. We talked a little bit, you know, about what the Lions does. But I know you work with other community organizations. You are one of the people I consider like a networking guru. If you don't, there's a show. There's a show, man. There's a show called Blacklist on Netflix. There's some violence in it, you know. I don't do a lot of violent shows. But my daughter challenged me to watch the show, and I watched it. This guy, the star's name is Ray Reddington. He is connected like you won't believe. Whatever you need is a phone call, there's a person. And I was thinking, the only person I know that can come close to that is Fabian DePisa. I mean, from the top of government down to the streets, this guy knows somebody, even in the criminal underworld, where he operates, by the way. You know, he has connections like you won't believe. And if you, like I said, my daughter challenged me to watch the show. I watched the show for a couple of episodes. Now I know people that binge watch because you can get hooked on it. That's not my style. I watched a few of the episodes, but I can see why people would get, you know, hooked on this television program. But it's so amazing. The gentleman is able to be in the middle, play both sides against the middle, but he knows everybody that's in the room and everybody that's connected to people in the room. I'm saying, how does one man keep all that in his head? But somehow that star in that show does it very well. So I want you, when you have a moment, to look at it and see how he connects people and see if that's not Fabian DePisa.
I promise to do. I've seen the name. I know of the show. I've never watched it.
Really?
But now that you've mentioned it, I definitely will
It's
tune
an
in.
amazing show. Anyway, getting back to what we were talking about earlier, it's the programs, the other programs that you associate with, and then we'll talk later on about what they're doing, you know. But tell us a little bit more. I know you associate with the young lady that does the Caribbean Cultural Foundation, and her name is slipping me at the moment.
It's Beulah Providence.
Beulah Providence.
Yes.
She's been in the community forever, serves community. You know, sometimes it's amazing that she's able to do the things she does, and she's, you know, I call her a wonderful young lady, but I know she's been around for a couple centuries. I mean, a couple. Not, sorry, Beulah. Sorry, a couple of years in doing the work she's been doing. So it's just amazing that she's able to keep that pace, even in her senior years. So.
Well, one of the great things that she does, aside from running the Caribbean Foundation, is the urban community homemaker services that she provides, which is all about keeping seniors out of institutions and in their homes. And they provide the training classes for home health aides, and she does a fabulous job. But she has this awards banquet that she does every year, and I think you're a recipient of one of the awards some years back. And that's coming up in January, and that's like her major fundraiser, where a lot of the money that's raised from that event goes to the elders in the community. And I'm fascinated by the things that she does, just like you are. She works tirelessly all the time. She's constantly on the go. Anytime I get a phone call from Mrs. Providence, I always call her Mrs. Providence, and she insists on me calling her Beulah, but she's an elder, and I have respect for her. So, but she is always about doing something or advocating for something, and she's one of my mentors. She's definitely one of my mentors.
You know, if the city of Boston ever gave an award to somebody for something that I believe makes a contribution of significant value and substance, it would be her for the tireless work she does. Now, I don't know what I'm not familiar with a lot of the programs that the city offers, and I mean the recognition. So I should sort of work on that. But I think certainly she's one of those deserving people that you know, give so much and ask for so little in return. As a matter of fact, she didn't ask for anything. So I'll keep that in mind moving forward.
Funny you should say that. How I actually met Mrs. Providence on a personal level, because you know, you grow up hearing certain names and so on, and you've never had the opportunity to really sit and engage with the person, have a conversation. I met Mrs. Providence June of 2016. We presented her with an award at Boston City Hall as part of Caribbean Heritage Month.
Oh.
And it was a surprise to her. She didn't know we were going to do it. And ever since then, we've formed a closer relationship where I actually try to help her out with her event every year as much as I can, which is coming up. And I brought the promo. I think they'll show it later on. But she's doing great work. And being someone who took care of my dad in his later years up until he passed in November of 2016, I wish I'd known about her organization prior to that and had gotten involved with her at that point. But it all worked out. It all worked out in the end, and I value the work that she does, and I'll always help her promote it.
You know, we have to take a break now, Dan, so that we don't overwhelm you with information. So we're going to take a quick break, and we want you to stay right where you are. Continue to invite your friends into the conversation. 2 and 2, we'll be back at you just shortly.
What are you, superheroes?
Just four brothers who hate bullies and love this city. Gear up, guys.
Hey, look, it's those guys. Are you good to drive?
I'm fine.
How many did you have?
I should be fine.
You should be.
Go and step out of the vehicle for me.
See ya, buddy. Good luck. So turns out, buzz driving and drunk driving, they're the same thing, and it costs around $10,000. So not worth it.
Look at you. You're at the top of your game. At work or at play, you're unstoppable. Nothing can throw you off track. Oh, hey, she's cute. Nice going, man. Things are going great for you. You've earned a night out. Good drinks, good friends. Yeah, we can go ahead and call this a good night. Wait, is that your car? Uh-oh. Not smart. Yeah, I saw that coming. Say goodbye to her. Ouch, that'll hurt your bank account. You're looking at around 10 grand in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. I hope you like eating frozen dinners. Alone. Let's try this again. Smart move. Because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Thanks for staying with us. We'll continue the conversation with this awesome young man with all the connections that you need in Boston. And you know, I'm gonna surprise him. He doesn't know I'm gonna do this, but we're gonna do a rapid fire connect. I'm gonna give him 5 or 6 names, and we'll see who he comes up with for connections in those locations. So we were talking earlier about the Beulah Providence and the programs that she does, and you were getting ready to talk about a event she does in
JFK
January.
Library in
Yeah,
January,
yeah,
yep.
yeah. You want to share some more information on that?
Yes, that event is going to be on January 6th at the JFK Library. And
Changing location.
yes, well, for the past 2 years, it's been at, last year it was at the library as well. The year
really?
prior to that, it was at the Venezia. So she's now at this spot for the 2nd year in a row, so it's a good location.
Yeah.
And it should be a great event. It's from 3 to 7, January 6th, at the JFK Library and the JFK, John F. Kennedy Presidential Library and Museum.
3 in the afternoon?
Yeah, 3 p.m. to 7 p.m.
Oh, that's...
And with the price of admission, you have full access to the library the whole entire day, even at the earlier hours before the event begins. You can go and walk through the library and museum. And
that's a special treat.
it is. And it's ample parking, so you don't have to worry about additional cost to park. So it's a good take. It's a good take. We don't know who the awardees are at this point, but she'll give awards to a number of different community leaders. And she's been organizing the event since the time it ended in 2018. She started working on putting it together.
For 2019?
For 2019, yes.
Listen, I want to encourage you to support the Caribbean Cultural Foundation.
Caribbean Foundation. Yeah.
Awards at the JFK Library coming up on January 6th.
2019.
Okay.
And this year the theme is bringing the dream to the next generation. So she's passing the torch to the younger generation. There's going to be a lot of activities during the program featuring the younger folks, as we like to say. Yeah.
So I've had the opportunity to go there on more than one occasion, and the food, very good, very good. As a matter of fact, I'm not particularly fond of goat. And one of the events I went to, they served goat, and I ate and enjoyed it, and it tasted so good. And I said at the end of the program, the chef was recognized for the work he did. And he asked, "How did you enjoy the goat?" And I was like, "Huh?"
That was goat I ate? It tastes like chicken.
Yeah, that's very different. Anyway, now we're going to sort of go. I'm going to try to do this little exercise that I wanted to do with you. I'm going to ask you for 5 or 6. I'm going to mention 5 or 6 organizations, and I'd like you to just pull a name from one of those organizations or government agencies, and see how well you do. And I'll say if you do 4 out of 6, that's golden. But I know you can probably do 6 out of 6. So
we'll see.
Let's try this. Okay. Let's say the State House.
Lieutenant Governor Karen Polito.
Ooh, okay, you go to the top. Let's say City Hall. City Hall, Boston City Hall.
President of the City Council, Andrea Campbell.
Okay, let's say the commission for the, no, that's easy. Let's say an organization that's supporting the homeless.
Jim Green,
Jim Green.
Pine Street Inn.
Three out of three. We're going for four. Let's say an organization supporting the last. Okay, no, I don't want to say that. I can't do that here. Let's say an organization supporting other than the commission flying, supporting vision and hearing impaired.
Deaf and hard of hearing, organizer for the deaf and hard of Shaheen, Sehin, Makura is someone. I have people call me up, and you know this, that's why you're doing this too. But anyway,
we got 4 to 4.
Shaheen Makura, yes.
We got 4 to 4. Let's say somebody in the arts in Boston, any kind of arts in Boston.
Wow. I would say Ron Reed.
Ron Reed. That's 5 out of 5. I'm trying to stump you, you know that. I'm really trying to.
Some people might be saying, "Who is Ron Reed?" But that's okay.
Let's say somebody in business in the Mattapan community, business owner in the Mattapan community, any business owner.
Wow. K's Oasis, Ms. K Chambers.
K Chambers. Woo. Folks, that's 6 out of 6. You talk about a guy that's connected. Okay.
I'll tell you a little story about K Chambers. When I started Engine Room Section, better known as the Mud Band, which we take part in the annual Caribbean Festival.
Yeah.
We had a tough time finding a venue to do fundraisers, and Ms. K holds a special spot in my heart because she reached out to us, and she granted us her place to do an event. And it wasn't a successful event, but it was a quality event, and I always respected her for that, and I consider her a good friend and a mentor.
Mrs. Chambers is Kay Chambers is one of our stalwart anchors in the community, and we certainly wish her well with Kay's Oasis and any other activities. I know she has a hair salon, and
Yes.
so however we can do to support small businesses in our community, it's part of what we do here at Phipps Talk, providing resources and mentorship and all sorts of other support services. So if you're thinking of starting a small business, please reach out before you do or spend any money. Get a consult. Doesn't cost you anything. We hook you up with organizations like SCORE or agency, and so that you get the information you need to get started on a solid foundation without losing money. So that's the key. If you're going to be a business, you're supposed to make profits, not losses. Mm-hmm. Coming back. Let's talk a little bit about, we talked earlier about the Caribbean Foundation and the work that you do with the Lions. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of services, you do a lot of work with the commission. Mm-hmm. And I'm not pulling the commission out. I'm just finding out sort of in terms of some of the services you provide to help others. You're amazing. I just really want to say that in seriousness, because to do the number of things you do and to do them as well as you do, including connecting people, it takes a very well organized, efficient system in time management to be able to get some of the things you do done. So I'm very pleased to acknowledge or commend you on that organization. Mm-hmm. Now, in terms of the work you do, you help folks who are visually challenged with services and support. Mm-hmm. Without crossing any, lines. Can you say a little bit about that as far as, and I'm hoping that we can get the commissioner on here in the near future as it relates to that service, because one of the things that happens is I know that people in the big business world says, okay, the population of vision and hearing people is small compared to the other people who may have cancer or diabetes or the other major life-threatening ailments. And as a result, it doesn't get the sort of attention that it needs to, as I believe, that's probably just my thinking. And I think we can do much more, but you're doing a great deal in that area. So can we cover that for a little bit?
Well, two things in doing the work that I do as part of my profession, being a vocational rehabilitation counselor with the commission, is I let clients know from the start the job that we are doing is about relationship building. And everybody needs somebody, we all need each other. And I try to instill that in them from the very beginning. It's not about, you know, the information that I have, it's the information that you need to get in order to move your life forward. So it's going back to that old adage, you know, you give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day. You teach him how to fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. And I've met some remarkable people in clients who are visually challenged, legally blind, as we would say, who just need that connection in places where they want to be. And you see them blossom, you see them do amazing things. If someone came to me and told me they wanted to get involved in real estate, the person I'd say, well, maybe you want to do an internship with Mr. Richard Phipps, and we'll try to make that happen. I'd make a phone call, and I'd first reach out to you and see if that can be done. So it's amazing work. You're not going to get rich doing it, but you definitely feel rewarded.
Rich and
feel rewarded.
fulfilled.
Yes.
Rich and spread and fulfilled. One of the things that I sort of think about in terms of the outreach, the work you do, is the many people that benefit from the work you do and that are able to make their lives better, but not only make their lives better, make the lives of others better by then sharing or contributing to the lives of others. And speaking of contributing and sharing, if you are part of an audience, this is something we're asking you to do. We're trying to reach out, we're reaching out through you to any professional athletes or entertainers you know for a specific purpose. We have an interest in developing in the greater Boston community a facility, a home, and a facility that houses recreation, entertainment, businesses, and housing for individuals who may be visually challenged or hearing impaired. And if you are familiar with any athletes or other individuals who would want to support such an event, we'd like to be able to hear from you with your recommendations. You can email them to us at phippstalk.com, or you can Facebook, however you want to get to us. We're all over the media, the internet. So if you can reach out, share a name with us, you know, or give us your contact information, email or phone number, somebody will reach out and we can get that information to start reaching out to these individuals who might be in a position to help with the development of this project. And again, it's a vision and hearing impaired services, housing, a multi-service complex that will accommodate the population at large as part of that, because we want an integrated community and not a segregated community. So please, please, please give it some thought. And if any athletes are watching that are moved by that, would like to participate, there's a large organization of people moving in that direction with the project and would like to be able to get your participation, your support as part of this process to make this a reality in Boston and any other cities where it might be applicable. We'll continue that discussion when we hear from you.
Yeah, well, four of the top things that we look at, going back to the work I do with the commission.
Yeah.
First being education. Second, employment, housing, transportation. Those are the areas that, you know, when you think about trying to give someone the tools to move forward, those are the four areas that you normally have to deal with. And the housing piece that you talk about is a major impediment for a lot of folks to find housing close to where the jobs are. You know, it's hard sometimes, and we're doing a great job in this state with, you know, the accessibility of affordable transportation. And I think with the rideshare companies coming on board, that has made transportation a little bit more accessible, but we still have a ways to go. And it's the plan you have in mind that you talked about. It's a great plan. I know you've shared it with me, and it's something that you definitely should have the commissioner of the different agencies on to talk about.
Okay.
And share that vision. And I like the outreach to the athletic profession as well. I think that's a good way to go.
As usual, we always have to take a break to let you keep your thoughts moving and be able to not to overload the senses. So we're going to give you a brief break. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It's not always easy being a dad.
Do you have panda asthma too? Does that run in the family? This is the home of the most priceless kung fu artifacts.
But when you make an effort,
Jack, we're not supposed to touch anything. Oh, sorry. Go long, son.
it's always worth it.
Whoa! Master!
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
I am gonna get you. I'm gonna get you.
Call 877-4DAD-411 or visit fatherhood.gov to learn more.
When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke. I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast. F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911. Protect the ones you love. Spot a stroke fast.
We're back, and we're going to continue the discussion with this awesome young man this evening. I hope you've benefited from a lot of things you've shared. I especially enjoyed the rapid fire connect session. I won't do that again to him because that might be too much pressure. But we'll continue the discussion. Now, we talked about a lot of things during this session, and I just want to be sure that we sort of tie them all together. And you know what? I'll sort of let you start that process because I think you had so much to share. You have so much to share. I'd like you to be able to have an opportunity to share, and that the folks that are in the audience could sort of benefit from what you share. So go right ahead.
Well, one of the things I want to definitely talk about and have you chime in on is the housing development the program that you are looking to develop.
Okay.
I know you have, I try to stay out of that because that's your project, and every so often I check in with you. One of the things that we didn't mention is that you're a member of the Regional Advisory Council at the Commission in the region that I serve, and that's one of the connections we have. We have several connections between the two of us here. And how you go about getting the right people in place to support that initiative, that housing initiative, I just want to hear from you, how is that going? How is that project going?
So we've reached out to a number of organizations in terms of the first challenge is identifying the land that's necessary. And this project is sort of a brainchild of a couple people, but I would be remiss in not mentioning Lori Feldberg, who is one of the young ladies that's part of the process. And there are a number of others. We have an architect that's beyond belief in terms of his insight, wisdom. His name is Weston Wright from Weston Wright and Associates Architects. And together we've been forging ahead. We have a number of other people, but I'd just like to limit it to those two right now. As we try to identify land resources, financial resources, because it's a large undertaking. And I just want to make sure that the folks that are listening understand that it's for community, it's being sort of guided by people who have the experience, live the experience, and sort of want to be sure that the life is made better for others who come along that path with opportunities and so forth. So the program is intended to provide employment for the vision impaired, hearing impaired, entertainment resources, all the things that would make life comfortable and normal, if there's such a thing as normal, because I know we use that word kind of loosely, but we want everybody to be able to the extent that they want to have a specific experience in a specific area, we want those individuals to be able to share, just like you and I do, any experience that they wish to the extent that they can. So we started, we identified some land parcels that we're exploring. We also have been reaching out to individuals who have the means and resources to be able to support that type of event at a large level, but we're also reaching out to the smaller community. I mean to the regular community, not smaller community. The regular community, if they have the means to support something like that, we'll be providing information and resources on those options moving forward. The next program we do. And in addition to the land resources and financial resources, we're seeking individuals who have interest in supporting vision or hearing impaired programs to serve as members on the board. And if you have an interest in serving on the board of the Vision and Hearing Impaired Services Project, we would love to hear from you. You can call me directly, email, the email being, I'm trying to think which one.
Have them go to Phipps Talk and then redirect them.
Yeah, okay, Phipps Talk or 617-296-7730. We'll be happy to talk to you about your interest in serving on the board and providing opportunities to assist and guide the project as it's formed, because we also need your input as part of the process to help the broader community to be able to understand the process and what it's going to take to make this a reality for those most in need of it. And we hope that you will be open to supporting that as well.
Yeah, there's a concept out there called universal access, and I think when people hear about universal access, they're more open to embracing it than when it sounds like it's something specifically segregating folks, what have you. But it's a great project. The blueprint for it is in Chicago, of all places, Illinois. I know at the very beginning when you mentioned this to me some months back, probably almost a year now, you had reached out to the gentleman in Chicago.
Yes.
And funny enough, he had a connection in Boston, in Brookline.
Brookline, yes.
Which was interesting. So I'm sure it can happen here.
The Friedman House, that's what I was thinking. The Friedman House in Chicago.
Friedman House or Friedman Place?
Friedman Place.
Friedman Place, yes.
I was thinking about trying to think of it. But that sort of lends some credence and some identification of the process.
It's impressive. It's an impressive development. And I wish you luck with that. And anything, like I've always told you, anything I can do, feel free to rely on me.
Thanks for staying with us. We'll see you next time. Keep following, like us on Facebook, and all the other social media too. We love you, stay with us, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for having me on, Richard. I appreciate it.
I was about to say, we're glad you were able to make it. Yes, sir.